The bell above the door of Rosie's diner tinkled, a familiar sound that usually heralded a rush of hungry truckers or gossiping locals. But for Sarah, it was the specific soft footfall that followed which caught her attention. Every day, at precisely 3:15 p.m., just as the after-school rush was dwindling, a little girl with hair the color of spun moonlight and eyes like a stormy sea would slip into the diner. Her name, Sarah had learned after a week of gentle coaxing, was Lily. She was perhaps 7, maybe 8, with an old soul's gravity about her. She'd always choose the same booth, the one tucked away in the corner by the window, furthest from the jukebox's cheerful blare. Her order was always the same: a small hot chocolate, extra whipped cream, no sprinkles, and a glass of water. She'd sip it slowly, her gaze fixed on the sketchbook that was her constant companion. Sarah, a woman whose own life had known its share of quiet sorrows, felt an inexplicable pull towards the child. Lily rarely spoke more than a whispered "thank you" or "yes, please." Her drawings, which Sarah sometimes caught glimpses of when delivering the hot chocolate, were intricate and detailed, often depicting fantastical creatures, serene landscapes, or, more curiously, solitary figures in uniform. "Anything else for you today, sweet pea?" Sarah would ask, her voice soft, careful not to startle the girl from her concentration. Lily would just shake her head, a tiny, almost imperceptible movement, before returning to her art. The other waitresses, busy with their own tables and side work, mostly left Lily to Sarah. "Quiet one, isn't she?" Betty, a veteran of Rosie's, once commented, wiping down the counter. "Barely makes a peep. Who brings her, anyway?" That was the other mystery. Lily always arrived alone and left alone. Sarah had initially been concerned, peering out the window after her, but Lily always walked with a determined stride towards the residential area a few blocks away, disappearing around the corner. Sarah assumed a parent or guardian was waiting, or perhaps she lived very close by and was trusted to make the short journey. Still, a knot of worry would tighten in Sarah's chest until she saw Lily again the next day. Weeks turned into a month, then 2. Sarah made it her mission to bring a little light into Lily's quiet world. She'd add an extra marshmallow to the whipped cream, sometimes slip a cookie onto her saucer, or leave a fresh, sharpened pencil beside her water glass. She'd compliment the drawing she could see. "That dragon looks like he could fly right off the page, Lily," or "what a beautiful castle." Slowly, painstakingly, Lily began to respond. A fleeting smile, a shy glance upwards, a whispered, "It's for my hero." "Your hero?" Sarah had probed gently one afternoon. "Are they very brave?" Lily nodded, her small finger tracing the outline of a soldier in her sketchbook. "The bravest?" Sarah's heart ached a little. She wondered about this hero. A father? An older brother? Someone far away, perhaps, given the uniforms and the drawings and the child's solitary demeanor. One blustery Tuesday, Lily seemed even more subdued than usual. Her shoulders drooped, and she barely touched her hot chocolate. The sketchbook lay open, but her pencil remained still. Sarah noticed a tear trace a path down Lily's cheek, quickly wiped away. "Rough day, honey?" Sarah asked, kneeling by the booth. Lily sniffled. Then, to Sarah's surprise, she pushed the sketchbook towards her. On the page was a drawing of 2 figures. One was small, with blonde hair, clearly Lily. The other was tall, in a detailed military uniform, his arm around the smaller figure. But his face was blank. He's been gone a long time," Lily whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. "Mommy says he's keeping us safe, but I miss him." Sarah's chest tightened. So it was her father, deployed. It explained so much. The quietness, the drawings, the profound sadness that sometimes clung to the little girl like a shroud. "I'm sure he misses you too, Lily. Terribly." "Do you think so?" Lily's eyes, wide and vulnerable, searched Sarah's. "I know so," Sarah said with conviction. "And I bet he carries a picture of you, just like you draw pictures of him." A tiny, watery smile touched Lily's lips. "Maybe." That day, Sarah gave Lily the biggest cookie in the jar, shaped like a star. "For a star like you," she said. Lily clutched it, her earlier gloom lifting just a fraction. The daily ritual continued. Sarah looked forward to Lily's arrival, their quiet companionship a small, steady anchor in her own often hectic days. She learned Lily loved stories about animals, that her favorite color was blue like the summer sky, and that she hoped to be an artist when she grew up. Lily, in turn, started to ask Sarah small questions about her day, about the other customers, even once asking if Sarah had any pets. She seemed to be slowly emerging from her shell, like a delicate flower unfurling in hesitant sunshine. Then came the Wednesday that changed everything. It was a slow afternoon. Rain lashed against the diner windows, and the usual hum of conversation was muted. Sarah was refilling sugar shakers when the bell above the door jingled. She glanced up, expecting perhaps a rain-soaked traveler. Instead, a man stood framed in the doorway, water dripping from the brim of his perfectly positioned service cap. He was tall and broad-shouldered, his posture ramrod straight even as he scanned the diner. He wore a full-dress military uniform, immaculate despite the weather, adorned with an array of ribbons and medals that spoke of service, courage, and perhaps distant, dangerous places. His face was stern, etched with lines of weariness, but his eyes, a deep, assessing blue, held a profound kindness. Sarah's breath caught. There was an aura about him, an undeniable presence that commanded attention. Her gaze flickered instinctively to Lily's corner. Lily was mid-sip of her hot chocolate, sketchbook open beside her. As the man took a step further into the diner, his gaze swept across the room, and then it locked onto the small, blonde head in the corner booth. Time seemed to slow. The man's stern expression crumpled, softened by an emotion so raw, so powerful, it was almost palpable. A name, barely a breath, escaped his lips, unheard by anyone but perhaps carried on the currents of longing. Lily? At the sound, though quiet, Lily's head snapped up. Her eyes, usually so guarded, widened to an impossible size. The hot chocolate mug clattered to the saucer, forgotten. Her lips parted, and, for a moment, she was frozen, a statue of disbelief. Then a single word, a choked cry, tore from her daddy. She scrambled out of the booth, sketchbook tumbling to the floor, pencils scattering. She flew across the diner, a small, blonde missile launched with all the force of a year's worth of pent-up love and longing. The soldier dropped to one knee, his arms opening wide just as Lily launched herself into them. He caught her, enfolding her in a hug so tight, so encompassing, it seemed he was trying to absorb her back into himself. His eyes squeezed shut, and Sarah could see the powerful tremor that ran through his shoulders. The entire diner fell silent. The clatter of cutlery ceased. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the sizzle from the grill seemed to hush. Everyone watched, transfixed, as the uniformed man buried his face in his daughter's hair, his broad back shaking with silent sobs. Lily clung to him, her small arms wrapped fiercely around his neck, her own quiet tears soaking into his decorated uniform. Sarah felt tears pricking her own eyes. This was Lily's hero, the brave man from her drawings, the reason for her quiet vigils and her whispered hopes. He was home. After what felt like an eternity, the soldier gently loosened his hold, though he kept Lily cradled close. He looked at her face, his callous thumb wiping away her tears, his own eyes shining. "My little star," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "I missed you so much." "I missed you too, Daddy," Lily sobbed, her voice no longer a whisper but full and clear, laced with pure, unadulterated joy. "I drew you every day." He chuckled, a warm, rumbling sound that seemed to fill the diner with sudden warmth. "I bet you did, and I bet they were the best drawings in the whole world." Slowly, he stood, Lily still securely in his arms, her legs wrapped around his waist as if she'd never let go. He looked around the diner, his gaze finally settling on Sarah, who stood by the counter, a dishcloth forgotten in her hand, a smile trembling on her lips. He approached her, his steps measured. "Excuse me, ma'am," he began, his voice raspy. Sarah found her voice. "Welcome home, soldier." He nodded, a grateful expression dawning on his face. Lily has told me. Well, she doesn't talk much on the phone, but my wife mentioned she comes here every day. Yes, sir, Sarah confirmed. She's a regular. Our best customer. Lily, from her perch in her father's arms, beamed at Sarah. This is Sarah, Daddy. She gives me extra whipped cream and tells me my drawings are good. She's my friend. The soldier, Major Thomas Ashton, as Sarah would later learn, looked at Sarah with a new understanding. The weariness in his eyes was still there, but it was now overlaid with a profound gratitude. Thank you, he said, his voice filled with sincerity. Thank you for looking out for my little girl. Her mother works until 5, and Lily insisted. She said she felt safe here, waiting. She said someone here is kind. Sarah's heart swelled. It was my pleasure, Major. Lily, she's a special girl. She is, he agreed, his gaze softening as he looked at his daughter. She's been so strong, waiting for me. This deployment, it was a long one. He shifted Lily slightly in his arms. We should probably let you get back to work, but I wanted to thank you personally for the kindness. It means more than you know to a father far from home, worrying about his family. Anytime, Sarah said, genuinely. And please call me Sarah. Major Ashton smiled, a genuine, warm smile that transformed his face. Tom, then, and this is my co-pilot, Lily. Lily giggled, snuggling closer to her father. The change in her was astonishing. The quiet, reserved child had vanished, replaced by a bubbly, radiant girl, her eyes sparkling with a happiness so bright it was almost blinding. Over the next few weeks, Rosie's Diner gained 2 new regulars. Major Ashton, now on leave, would bring Lily in himself. Sometimes her mother, a warm, friendly woman named Emily, would join them. Lily still ordered her hot chocolate, but now she chattered animatedly, telling her father about her day, about her school friends, about the new dog they were planning to get. She still drew, but now her drawings were filled with color, with smiling faces, with scenes of a happy family reunited. Often, she'd draw Sarah too, always with a kind smile and a plate of cookies. Sarah learned that Major Ashton had been stationed in a remote, dangerous part of the world for over a year. Emily had tried to keep things as normal as possible for Lily, but the child had internalized her anxiety and longing, retreating into her art and her quiet routine at the diner. Rosie's and Sarah's gentle presence had become her small sanctuary, a predictable, safe space in a world that felt uncertain without her father. One afternoon, as the Ashtons were leaving, Tom paused by the counter. Sarah, he said, Emily and we want to give you this. He handed her a small, neatly wrapped gift. Inside, nestled on a bed of cotton, was a beautifully framed photograph. It was of Lily, beaming, holding up a drawing. In the drawing, a little girl and a soldier stood hand in hand outside Rosie's Diner, while a waitress with kind eyes offered them a hot chocolate. Beneath it, in Lily's careful handwriting, it said, To Sarah, my first friend at Rosie's. Thank you for waiting with me. Love, Lily. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes again. Oh, Tom, Emily, it's beautiful. Thank you. No, Sarah, Emily said, her own eyes moist. Thank you. You gave our daughter a safe harbor. You showed her such kindness when she needed it most. You were more than just a waitress. You were a lifeline. Sarah looked at Lily, who was now confidently explaining the diner's specials to her father. The quiet girl was still there, but she was no longer defined by her silence. She had found her voice, her joy, because her hero had come home. And Sarah, the waitress who had simply offered a little extra whipped cream and a kind word, knew that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could echo in the most profound ways, bridging distances, mending hearts, and helping a quiet little girl wait for her father to walk back through the door. The bell above Rosie's entrance would continue to tinkle, but for Sarah, it would always carry a special resonance, a reminder of the day a soldier came home and a little girl's world was made whole again.